Alright guys, so today we're going to make this simple application using Flutter and the DummyJSON API. Alright, so then the other thing is we're going to fetch the images in the carousel from pixels. Alright, so there I'm not using any APIs, as we can see. So here we're going to check through, use the DummyJSON API, and then we're going to filter through the data we're going to be fetching from the DummyJSON API. So we're using the DummyJSON API and specifically the product API. So here, as you can see, we have the text editing field. So here, when we click here, we can search for the products, and the search product is the product that is going to be displayed down here. So as we can see, we have all these products down here. So let's search for one of the products here. So we're going to search for the product called the Essence, which is just basically the first product. So here we search, then we press enter. Just wait for that to fetch. So as you can see, we only have one product now being displayed in, on the products list. All right. So this is what we're going to make, and then we're going to learn how we can use factory constructors, how to use models, and how to basically fetch data from an API using a Flutter, and it's the HTTP package. So we're just going to use a few packages for this so that we make it as easy as possible for you guys to follow. So if this is something you would like to make and you would like to learn how to go through this, we're going to, as you can see, we've searched for lipstick and it's doing the same thing. All right, so if this is something you would like to make, you can stick around for this to the end of this video. All right. So with all that said, let's get started. All right, so to get everyone on the same page, we have the main dot of which on the home part, we're just returning the home screen with a blank scaffold. So in this tutorial, we're going to have a few packages that we're going to install, and this is going to be the HTTP package for running API requests. And then let me just take you to the terminal. So we're going to have the font awesome, the card loading, and the carousel slider, right? So these are the packages that we're going to have. So the carousel slider is going to be for the carousel that we had on top there. So the next thing is we just run to install these packages, get to download the packages. So once those packages are done running, we can come here. Okay, let's go down here. So as we can see, the packages have been added to the project. So go back here. So the next thing we're going to do after the project setup, we're going to have the folder structure. So firstly, we're going to have the models. Right, so the model, then the next thing we're going to have is the screens. So we already have the screens. So the next thing we're going to have is the services. This is where we're going to put our API services. All right, so once we're done with the services, the next thing is we're going to have the widgets. So this is where we're going to put our reusable widgets, right? So firstly, we're going to start with the models. So this is going to be this is where our data structures for the API data is going to be. And then the screens, this is where we're going to have the UI. So this is where we're going to have the home screen. Then we can go to the services. This is where we're going to put our API services. Then nextly, we're going to have the widgets. So this is where we're going to put our reusable widgets that we're going to use, such as the search bar that we had seen on top there, the image cards, and yeah, just basically those, and the carousel slider as well. So let's get started. Right, so firstly, we are going to come inside the models. So inside here, we're going to create the file called product. Then in here, we're going to have a class. And the class is simply just going to have the same name as the file. So we're going to create product. Right. So in this product, we're going to have the product properties, and then we're going to have a constructor. Then we're going to deserialize the data, which just simply means we're going to convert the JSON data that we're fetching into a dart object so that it's easier for us to access that data to display it on our front end. All right, so inside here we're going to have the properties. So we're going to have the product ID, title, description, thumbnail for the image, the price, and the percentage. All right, so here firstly we have the price, the properties, I mean. Then the next thing is we're going to have a constructor. So which is a constructor is just simply a function inside the class that has the same name as the class, right? So here we're going to have the product, and as we can see, that error is gone. So the product is the same name as the product class. So this is the constructor. So we've required everything. All right, so we have the ID, the title, description, thumbnail, price, and the discount. So the thumbnail is for the image. Right, so the next thing is we're going to deserialize it, which simply means we're going to convert it, the data that we're getting, the JSON data that we're getting from the API, we're going to convert it into that object. So this is the step that we have for the deserialization. So this is the part where we deserialize it. We have the map, and then we have a dictionary, of which is simply a string value, of which we're going to expect a string and some dynamic data, which simply means it can be a string or it can't be a string, it can be a number or whatever. So then in here, these are the things we're going to expect from the API. Then this JSON is simply a key lookup. So the JSON, these are accessing values in which the JSON map using the specified keys like ID, title, and everything going down here. So the values retrieved from these maps are then assigned to the corresponding properties of the product. So this is what we have here. So the product is the object, right, in our case. So the next thing we have to do is we're going to come to the services. So in here, we're going to create a new class called the API service dot. Right, so this is where we're going to conduct the entire process for us fetching data and filtering through data from an API. So we're simply just going to go with an API service class, right? So in here, right, so inside here, we're going to have the base URL, right? But before we do that, we're going to come here. Let's go inside the packages. So we're going to use this package, the HTTP package, to run API requests, right, to our endpoint. So let's go to the API services again. Then let's go back here. Let me minimize this. So here we're going to simply just get this. This is going to be our base URL so that we fetch all the products. So this API endpoint is just going to help us get all the products. Then when we go down here, this is just to get a single product. So you can just put the product ID in front of that. Then the search, we're going to use the query, right? So which is just simply going to be a queue, then the word that we're going to search for, right? So let's go back. We've copied over here, we've copied this API endpoint. We've copied it fully. Right? Then we go back here. Right, so this is going to be of type string. Don't mind this. So this is going to be of type string. So we're simply just going to say final, then string, then base URL. Then here we put it in quotation marks. Then we put a semicolon at the end. All right. So that's that. But before we do that, we're going to have a function that is just we're going to use to fetch products from the API. So let's write that. All right. So we're simply just going to return a function, all right, so, which is just simply going to be an asynchronous function that returns a feature of type list products. All right. So here we're going to simply say feature. Mind this feature. Then in here, it's going to be a list. Then this list is going to be of type product, right? Don't mind that. That is just Copilot suggesting code, which we're simply just going to use, not going to use because I'm going to have to explain the entire code here. So we're simply just going to name it fetch product, right? So here, then we make it an async function, right? All right, so this function is going to run without blocking the main thread of execution, right? All right, so the next thing is we're going to have the response. So simply going to say final, then response. All right, response. Wish I could, let me just turn off my copilot. All right, so the copilot is off. So here we're going to say response, then we are going to await this. So this is where we're going to use the HTTP package to send the GET request to the API. So here we're going to say HTTP.get. Then inside here we're going to have a URI dot parse, right? So inside here, this is where we're going to put the base URL. So we say base, then underscore URL, right? Then here we give it semicolon. All right, so the next line is we're going to have an if statement that is going to check if we're getting an okay status code from the API. So here we're going to say if, then we say a response dot, then here we say status code. Status code, if it's equal to 200, of which means it's okay. Then in here, if that's the case, we're going to have the data. So if that's the case, we are simply going to say final. Let's say data equals. Then here on the, we're going to have a JSON decode, right? Of which is just simply going to decode the response body from the JSON to a data object. So here we're simply just going to say JSON. So this name is just straightforward. So JSON decode. Then here we're going to have the response. So response dot body. Then we convert that to a data object. So here we're going to have a list. So say after that we're going to have a list. Okay, so it's going to be a list of product JSON data, right? From the data that we have from making on top here, right here. So here we're going to have, it's going to simply say list. We call it product JSON. Then we say equal to data. Then inside this data, we're going to access the products. So here, the next thing is we're going to have a map. We're simply going to map the list of products to a list. So this is just going to be a bunch of lists. So as we can see here, the return type of this whole function is going to be of type list of products, right? So here we're simply just going to say return, then we say product JSON, then we're going to map it. So say map, right? So this map is going to take in a JSON, right? So you can simply just name that anything. Then here we're going to serialize it. So simply say product from JSON. Then in here we say JSON. In here we say JSON. Then we just convert it to a list, right? So that error goes. So we have to wrap this entire thing inside a catch, a try catch, so that we deal with the errors gracefully. So say try that, say try. So it's important to put error handling into consideration when we're doing this. So say error. Then here we can put a throw. Right. Then here, let me just throw an exception outside here. Here is just simply say exception. Then you can simply just say load products. right? Then the next thing is we're going to come here and just paste the code we're from writing previously. Then in here, we can just simply return feature.error. Okay, let me format this so that it's easier for us to read. In here, it will say feature.error. All right. All right, so we're done with the fetching of the products. So right now we can go to the home screen. All right. So inside the home screen, we're going to give it a background color. Then we're simply just going to say colors. So today I'm doing it differently. I don't have my own colors put here. So there's no constants folder today. So here we're simply going to give it a color, a shade of 200, right? Then inside the scaffolds, we're going to have the body. So the body is simply just going to retain a single child scroll view, right? So inside here, we're going to have a child, which is simply just going to be a column. And this column is going to have children inside here. All right. So, but before we do that, for us to actually display these products inside our home screen, we're going to have we're going to come down here on the widgets, and then inside the widgets, we're going to create the product card. So simply say product dot, right? So it's simply going to be a stateless widget. And we name it product card. Then come here, then down here, then import the material, right? So inside here, we're simply just going to retain a container. And this container is going to have a margin. Right, the margin is going to be of symmetric, and then it's going to have the horizontal, which is going to be 12, then the vertical is going to be 8. Right, so in here we're going to have a decoration. Right, so let me format this, bring it to the next line so that it's easier for you guys to read. Then we have the box decoration. Right, so inside the box decoration, we're going to have the border radius. Right, so the border radius is going to be circular of 16. Then next we're going to have the color. Right, the color is going to be white. Right, so I actually like the color being on top of everything. So we just put it here. And we can go on the next line again. So here we're going to have the box shadow. All right, so inside the box shadow, we're going to have the box shadow, which is just simply going to have the colors of black with an offset of 0.09, and then we're going to have a blur radius of 8 and then offset of 0.4. Then the next thing is we're going to give this container a child, right? So this child is just simply going to be a column. So the column is going to hold all the properties for the product card. So it's going to have children. Then here, let's format it a little bit. So here, so the first thing we're going to have is the image. I can spell image. Then the other details. Let me not spell everything accordingly. So here we're firstly going to have a clip rect, right? Clip rect. So the first thing this clip rect is going to have is the border radius. So we simply say border radius. So the border radius is going to be of vertical, and then it's just simply going to be on top. So which is just simply going to be circular and 16, right? That's a lot of simplies, right? Right. So say border. All right. So The border radius is going to be vertical, then top, which is just simply going to be circular, and then 16, right? So let me just give this a const. Right. So the next thing we're going to have is the child of this clip rect, right? So inside, it's still inside the clip rect. So we're going to give it a child. Then the child is going to be an image dot network. So this simply means we're getting the image data from an API, right? So if we're getting it from something local, from our assets, then we can simply just call it. We can use the image.assets, right? As you have noticed from the previous videos, if you've watched any. So here we're going to go outside here, right? So here on top, we're going to have a reference of the product class. So we'll say product, then we say products, just simply call it products, right? Then here, just like we did in our class, we get to require this. So we'll simply say required this dot products, right? So that error is gone. So here we're going to use that products to access the properties of our products class, right? So we'll simply say products dot, then we can see the properties. So here we're going to say thumbnail because we're going to access the image. All right. So the image is going to have a fit property, which is going to be box fit dot cover, right? Then we give it a comma. We go to the next line. The next thing is we're going to give it a height of 160, right? So the next thing is we're going to give it the width, right? The width is going to be of type double dot infinity, right? So we're done with the image. Then we can go to the other remaining details. So inside here, we're going to nest another column, right? Column, then we give it children, right? So in here, the first child we're going to have is the title, right? So we're simply going to say text, then we say products dot, then we give it a title, then we give it the other properties, so which is just simply going to be style. Then the style is going to be text style here, then we format it. Then we're going to give it a font size of 16, right? Then we also give it a font weight of 600. Then we give it an overflow. Then we simply say text overflow. Then we give it ellipsis, right? So the next thing we're going to come out here, then we give it the max lines, right? So the max lines is just simply going to be 1, right? Then we can come out here, then we give it some height. Okay, I'm going to use the spacings, right? So the next thing is we're going to simply have the price and the discount, right? So we're not going to include any buttons in here because we are not making the logic for that. So you guys can build on top of that, right? So the next thing is we're going to have the price and discount. All right, so these two are going to be inside the row, right? Then the row is going to have children, right? So the first child is going to be the price. So simply say text. Then in here, we give it the $sign, right? But before we do that, we give it a backslash, right? Then in here, we do this. So here, we're simply going to say products, just like we're accessing every other property. So products dot, then we say price, price dot, then we convert it to string as fixed, right? String as fixed, then we give it fraction of digits of 2, all right? So that part is done. Then we can just give it some text style as well. So let's do that. We can just simply copy the text style from here. So where's the text style ending? We just copy this and put it inside this text, right? So here we simply forgot to copy the word style, right? So that error is gone. Then here we can just simply give it a color, right? Then we can remove, we can give it the more border font weight. So we can give it like 800, right? So we can give it a color, colors.green, right? So just give it green, then we remove the text overflow. Then we also, what is left? It's just that, right? So the next thing is we're going to have a discount. So for the discount, we're going to have an if statement first. So this if statement is going to check if the product, right? If the product has a discount percentage, so you can say discount percentage. If it's not no, right, we can display it. So with this, we just simply put it down here, right? So if it's not now, we can say container. So this is going to be going to have a container. Then here we, as you can see, there's an operand down there. An operand can't be now. We're going to solve that later. So here we're going to give it some width. So width, then the width is going to be 30. And the height, it's not going to have much height, so we're going to give it 20. Right? So then we're going to give it some padding. Right? So this padding, the padding is going to be symmetric. Right? Okay, well, here's the symmetric. Then we're going to have for both vertical. Vertical, we're going to give it 2, right? Then horizontal, we're going to give it 6, right? And I wish we could see this right now. So let me just display it on the home screen. Let's go to the home screen. So inside the home screen, this is where we're going to display our product card. All right, so let's display it and see it as we are making changes, right? So inside here, we're going to come outside there. So here we're going to simply say let, right? So let, then we say future. In the future, it's going to be type list and products. Say product. So we're simply getting these products from our data structure. So this is our data structure, the model, right? So here we're simply going to import these, right? Hold on. And we say product and spell product feature, right? Then we can just simply come here and import the, sorry, we just import the product. So no suggestions always. We're going to manually import this. Oh, all right. So there was a typo here. So it's supposed to be product, not product. Right, so we put the product, so that error is gone. The only thing we have is the value of the field. So this is just simply saying it's unused. It's declared, but it's unused. So inside the column, let me format this so the code looks a bit better. So inside here, we're going to have children, right? So inside the children, here we're going to have a feature builder, right? So here we can come simply say future. builder. But before we do that, we have to show it where we're getting the data from. So here we're simply it's going to be like this: the list. Sorry, not that. We say list, then we say product. Right. So here, first thing is we're going to have a function, right? We need this to come from a function, so we say here simply say products feature, where we're getting the feature from. And here we say we get the context. Then the context, then the next thing is we're going to get a snapshot. Right, so the snapshot is going to be down here. So here we're going to have an if statement, right? So if the snapshot doesn't have data, we're going to simply just return a circular progress indicator, which is just going to show that the data is loading or it's not there, or you can improve on that. So you can simply say if, then say snapshot dot as data, and we can just simply return, right, circular progress indicator, just like that. Right, so if that's not the case, we can come out here. Right, so here we can say final, then we say products, and we say equals snapshot dot as data, right? Then outside here we can just return the next thing we have to do is just return a grid view, right, which we're going to display our products inside the grid, right? So today we're not going to use the list view, we're just going to use the grid view. So inside here, the first thing we are going to do is the grid delegate, which is just going to be a sliver grid delegate with fixed cross-axis count. Right, so we'll say sliver cross-axis count. Right, so let's format this. So the cross-axis count is just going to be 2. So we're just going to have 2 the cross-axis, right? Then the next thing is we're going to have the cross-axis spacing, of which we're going to give it the 12 spacing. Then we give it 12. Then the main axis spacing, right? And axis spacing we give it 12 as well. Then the child aspect ratio. All right, so you can actually look up on these, right, if this is your first time working with these. Right, so here, then the next thing we have to do is we can come out here, then we give it a shrink wrap, of which is going to expect a Boolean value, which is simply just going to be true for now. Then the physics, we're going to give it the physics of never scroll physics, right? So we say physics. Then we say never scroll physics, right? So down here we can come to the before we do that we can come here to the item count, then we can simply say products. We're using these products, right? So products dot, then we give it the length. All right, so while we have an error here, as you can see, we have, instead of just having data, we have the has data, right? So we say data. So the next thing is we're going to have the function in here, then we're going to say context, then the index. So the next thing is we're going to have a variable called product, which is going to be get the products from top there. Then we get the index, then we give it a semicolon here. So the next thing is we're going to simply return the products card. So the products card, which is simply going to expect. So let's go to the products card. It's going to expect this argument right here. So we import the products card first, then the argument. So it has initialized it to now for now. So because we have to include the argument ourselves. So we say product, then we say product, then we give it a semicolon, then we give it a semicolon here again. So we're done. All the errors are gone. All right, so let's try to see what we have on our screen. So let's reload this. All right, but before we do that, let's go here. We're going here to initialize this. So we're going to use an init state function, right? So that whenever the application runs, this function gets called. So we're going to use an init state, okay? And init state, then under here, we're going to simply say product feature. Then here we haven't made a way to access the API service yet, so we're simply going to say final. Put it on top here. Say final. Then we say API. We say service. Right. So this is coming from the API service that we had made, the API service class here. So we simply say we can just simply give it a name as API service. Then we say API service. So we can come inside here. Then we use this API service to access the function that's inside there. So we say API service dot. Then we say fetch product, since we have not made the filter products function yet. So we're going to actually use this in our to fetch all the products from here, because we hadn't connected it to, that's why it was giving this running error. So yeah, let's try to reload it and see what we have. Let me bring back the emulator. So it's giving us this error. So let's try to reload it and see what we have. All right, so there we go. These are the products that we have. So we've fetched all these products, and as you can see, the images are still loading, and the design, as we were not seeing it, it's a bit messed up. So let's go back to the products card. So we go here, so we can get to finish up with what we were doing. So this is the discount. So inside the discount, we were supposed to have the actual discount figures, right? So let's put that. All right, so we can give it some decoration. Okay, then we say box decoration. Right, so inside the box decoration, we're going to give it a color, which is going to be a red accent with opacity of 0.1, and the border radius of circular, which is just going to be 8. All right, so we've put the border radius and the color. So the next thing is we're going to give it a child. So the child is going to be a text. So we can just simply come here and just copy this entire thing. Text right here. Right, then we remove one of those. So here we're going to give it the products dot discount. Products. Then we say dot. Then we give it the discount percentage. Sorry, not description. Discount percentage. Then the toString as fixed, we give it 0. Right. So here we're going to give it the font weight of just simply 500. Then the color, we give it the red accent as well. The red accent. All right. Then here we can give it 14. We just reduce the text a little bit. So let's reload that and see what we have. Right, so this is what we have so far. So we can come here, up here, and give it the main axis alignment of space between. Main axis alignment. Right, so what other changes are we supposed to make? So we can come here and give it the cross-axis alignment of start. So say cross-axis alignment, right, of start, load. Right, so as you can see, the name has moved in the same line as the price. So what do we do next? All right, so let's give it some spacings between these two. So we can come down here between the image and the products. Let me just give it some sized box. The height of 20. I'm gonna give it that. Then reload. All right, so that's what we have. Then actually thinking we just wrap this column inside a padding. So then we just give it padding of symmetric. Then we say horizontal. Then we give it, let's give it 8. See what we have. All right, so that's what we have so far. So this is our products card, right? So actually thinking I think we can give it some size box on top there as well. But we put it there. Then we reload. All right, so it's a bit shaped, right? So as you can see, we have all the products fetched. So the next thing we're going to do is go back to the API service. So inside this API service, the next function we're going to have is the one to filter through the products that we have to search for the specific product that we want to see on this displayed on the screen alone if we fetch, right? So that's like searching through the products, the API data that we're getting, and then we just search through it to get the specific product that we're searching for, right? All right, so this function is going to be of type future. So it's future, and then it's simply just going to look like the same function, but it's actually going to have arguments, right? So let me say product, I mean. Then here we say search products. Then here we're going to give it a string that we're going to use to specify the specific product that we want to see. Okay, so string, then we say, we can name it query, right? So this is also going to be an async function. Then we do this. Then inside this function body, we're going to give it a try. Oh, I keep spelling try and catch, right? Try and catch block. Then we say error, right? That error is gone. Then we can come inside here. So here, the first thing is we can just simply copy this. We're going to basically do almost the same thing. We're going to send a request, but let's go back here. Let me explain this. So as we had seen here, this is forgetting. So for searching, you have to say products, then you simply go specify the search, and then we put a query. So this is where we're going to put our query from the. So here, let me show you what we're going to do. So we're simply going to follow this same approach. Let me move this a bit. All right, so we're simply just going to follow the same approach. Right, so here we're going to use a /, then we say search, right, and give it a question mark, then a Q, which is for the query. So basically we have to wrap this inside the quotation marks, right? So here we say query. Okay, so let's wrap these inside the marks like that. Then this we put the $sign in front of this, right? Okay, so this is what we have so far. So the next thing is we're also going to have an if statement that is going to check the status code of the response. So we say response dot right status code. Status code, if the status code is equals to 200, then we can save final. We just basically do the same thing over and over. Final data, then we decode the JSON data. So say JSON decode, then inside here we just simply say response. My piece is also slow, so response dot body, right? Then we give it a semicolon at the end. All right, so the next thing is we're going to get a list from the code product JSON, just like we did on top here. So we get the list. All right, so let's simply just copy this. So the following is just basically going to be the same repetition of what we did earlier. All right, so you can simply say return. So we just return everything as is. So we're going to return product JSON, just like we did on top there. So we just here, then that error is gone. Then inside the catch here, we just obviously just do the same. We can just copy this block down here as well. Copy from the catch, then just paste it right there. So that error is gone. So then we put this up there. Then we can open this. Let me maximize this again. So this is how we're going to perform the search. So here we can go to the home screen. So inside the home screen, but before we go to the home screen, we're going to create another widget called the text widget, the search bar widget. So it's a search bar widget dot, right? Simply going to be a stateless widget, right? All right, so the search bar is going to have two properties. It's going to have the text editing controller and then a function which is going to expect a string. All right, and then we're going to call this function and on search. So we'll say final. All right, so we call the text editing controller the controller. Then the next thing is we're going to have a function. So this is say final, the function. And this function is going to have an argument, which is simply just going to be of type string. Then we say call this function on search. Right. Then we can just require these inside here. All right. So we say required this dot controller, then required this dot search. Right. So inside here, we're going to have a text field, right? As we had seen at the beginning of this video, we're going to have a text field. So text field, right? So inside the text field, we're going to have the controller. That's the first thing that we're going to have. So we say controller. And the controller, we simply give it this controller that we had made on top there. So we simply say controller. So the next thing is we are going to give it some decoration. So this is different from the decoration that we have for containers. This is going to be an input decoration, right? So simply say input decoration. Then inside this input decoration, we're going to have a hint. All right, it's going to be hint text, right? So the hint text is going to be search products, right? Search products. Then we're going to have a prefix which is just going to be an icon. So we say prefix icon. All right, so prefix, let me get the icon. All right, so the next thing is we're going to give it some border, which is just going to be an outline border, or which is going to be border radius to circular, right? Border, then we give it some outline border radius. Okay, outline border. I mean, then inside here we give it the border radius. So say border radius. Right, so 12, then we come outside here, then we say field, then this is going to expect a boolean, then we simply say true. Right, so the next thing is we're going to give it a field color. Right, so this field color is going to be white. Right, so inside the text field we're going to come outside here, then we give it an unsubmitted. Right, submitted, so which means when we press the enter button, it's going to execute this function that is going to be here. So we simply say we code the function on search. All right, so we're done with this part. So the next thing is we go back to the home screen. So inside the home screen, this is where we're going to put our logic. Say search bar logic. So we have to import the search bar inside the home screen so that we display it there, right? So here, the first thing is we're going to have a text editing controller, all right, on top there. So we simply say final, then we give it a text editing controller. All right, so we say text editing controller. All right, so this is what we're going to use to handle the input down there. So the next thing is we are going to come down here and make the function to handle the input logic. So we say void, and we say handle. I literally can't spell. Handle search. All right, so this is going to expect a string in there, string. Then we're simply going to call this string a query, right? Then we give it the body. All right, so in here we're going to have a set state, which is going to change the states between the products from a query, from the query function, and the products from the fetch function, right? Right, so in here we're going to have a set state, then inside the set state we're going to have an if statement, which is simply going to say query dot is empty. So if the query is empty, we're going to get this, going to say product feature equals API service dot just simply say fetch product. All right, just like we did on top here. So then else, you just simply copy it from here so that we don't waste much time. Then after this, for if this is not the, if this is empty, if the query is empty, we call this, we fetch all the products. If there's a query on top there, we just simply search the products. We call the search product function from the API service. So this is it. Then the next thing we have to do is we have to come inside here on top of the fetched products. So here we're going to have the search, then we're going to have the banner. But before the search, we're supposed to have some greetings of some sort, some greetings. So here, greetings, right? Yes. So here, this is where we're going to put our input field. Right, so we named it the search bar widget. So we can just copy this right there on top and come here. Then we just paste it there. And we have to import this and its arguments as well. So we import this. and it's going to expect two required arguments, right? Okay, so here we do this, and we format this. So here it's we're simply going to get the handle search function. It's expecting a function, right? So we say handle, where are we? Okay, spelled it wrongly. Handle. Then we just copy this down here. Just right there. So that error is gone. Okay. So search. Then here we give it this controller. The name we call it search controller. So come down back here. Then paste it right there. Then leaves an error there. We just give it a comma there. Yeah, that's a comma. All right, so this is what we have. We can try to reload and see how far we've reached. All right, so the search bar can't be seen right now because it's way on top there. Let's go there. Just okay. So we have a search bar on top there. So here we can give it the sized box of 60 so that we can see everything down here, right? All right, so giving it a size box of 60, then let's reload and see it clearly down here. All right, so as we can see, the search bar is on the edges. So let's go down here inside the search bar and just simply wrap this with the padding, some padding, so that we give it some padding. And we're only going to give it some padding in the horizontal axis. So here we say horizontal, then we give it 16, then we reload, then we go back to the home screen. We're waiting for the changes to appear here. So here, the next thing we're going to do is the greetings, and then we're also going to do the banner, right? So, but before we do that, let's try to search for something inside here. So we can search for kiwi. Then we press enter. We wait for that to fetch. Okay, it's not fetching. What's wrong? What are we doing wrong? All right, I've tried searching for something else. So as we can see, our data is not being fetched. So let's try to debug this. So let's go back to the API service. So what do we have? All right, so this is a string. So it's not showing here in a string. So let's go back to the home screen. Then let's try to reload this. All right, let's try to reload it. So since we have reloaded it, and then let's try to search for something else again. Let's try to search for the first product. Press enter. Okay, it's now fetching. Right, so let's go back. Let's try to search for kiwi, the first product we tried to search for. Right, say kiwi. Right, let's try to search. Right, so it's working. As we can see, it's working. So let's try to fetch all the products. So when the search bar is empty, it just fetches the entire list of products. So all right, so the next thing is we're going to go for to make the greetings, right? So let's make the greetings widget. All right, so to make the greetings widget, we're going to come to the folder and say greetings dot. Then it's going to be a stateless widget, so it's just simply going to have a simple text, which is just going to be some placeholder text that we're just going to put there. So if you want to build on top of that, if you're going to collect the greetings from your database, you can do that. So that you can either greet the user in the morning, saying good morning, or in the afternoon as good afternoon, or in other places as well. So let's do that. So here we're going to go to going to name it greetings, right? So this is just going to simply retain a column. We give it children. Format this a little bit, right? So we first one is going to be text saying welcome back. Back, exclamation mark there. Then we format it down, right? So this, give it some style with the text style. All right, so the font size, we're going to give it a font size of 24. Keep saying different numbers and writing different numbers. Then we give it a font weight. Then we give it some color. Then we say colors dot gray. Then we give it the color of 800, which is a very dark shade of gray. Right. Then the next thing is we're going to have a simple text there just saying find your favorite product. So we can just copy this so that we don't waste much time. Put it there. Then we give it the font size of 16. And then we can give it the font the color of gray, which is just going to be a lighter. Then we just remove the border radius, the font weight. Then here we just replace this with the find your favorite products. Right, so we can just copy this greetings widget, go back to the home screen, then just paste it right here. Then we do this. So we simply just import the greetings widget, right? And we can format it. Let's format document. Oh, we have to put the semicolon here. Then we just format this. All right, so as we can see, the text is on the center. So we can, do we have any other? Okay, so we can just copy this sized box. Then we can just put it here. I don't know why I keep doing this when there's a spacing property for columns. All right, so we put 20 there. Then we can go back to the greetings screen. In here, we can give it the cross-axis alignment, and then we just say cross-axis alignment to start. Cross-axis alignment, then we simply say start. Then we reload this. It's going to take this to the start of the screen. Right, sorry about that. So we have to get this same cross-axis alignment, then go to the home screen. In here, we give it a cross-axis alignment as well. All right, so everything is moved to the start of the screen. So the greetings, we can just simply come here, go back to the greetings, and simply just wrap this with the padding. All right, so we're going to give it symmetric. Then we give it horizontal. Then we give it 16, just like everything else. All right. So that's what we have so far. So far, so good. So the next thing is the greetings. Then we have the search bar. Then the next thing we have to add here, then get us the products. We've already added the products. Then the next thing we have to add is the banner widget. So we can come back to the widgets folder. Then we say discount banner widget dot right. So the discount banner is going to be a stateful widget, right? So we call it discount banner. Then you can come here, and inside here we're going to give it a column, right? So say column. Okay, then we format it, then we give it children. Right, so inside the children, we're going to have a carousel slider. Say carousel slider. Right, so this carousel slider is coming from this package, one of the packages we had installed earlier. So it's called the carousel slider. So here it's going to expect its arguments as well. So let's format this. All right, so the first thing is, let me just move this to be the first thing so that we deal with it later. Then we put the items there. We can say options, right? Options. Then let's format it. Right, we formatted it. So we're going to have the carousel options here, right? Carousel options. Then down here. So inside here, we're going to give it some height as one of the options. So it's going to be 180. Right. So the next thing is we're going to give it an autoplay of which is going to expect the boolean, which is going to be true, right? So the enlarge center, right? Enlarge center page, which is also going to expect a boolean, which is true. So the cursor that's going to be on the center, the image card that's going to be on the center is going to be bigger than the ones that are not yet there, or the one that has passed. So we're going to give it a viewport, next viewport fraction, which is just going to be 16/9, right? Then on page changed, we're going to expect an index and the reason. So here, reason. In here, we come outside here, we do this, right? So inside here, we're going to have a set state. So, but before we do that with the set state, we're going to come outside here and make the make a variable to track the current index, right? So we say current index, then we say equals 0, right? Then the next thing is we're going to have a list, right? A list which is going to be have a map of strings, and then these are the ones that are going to be banners. So let's do this. So final, right? So we say list, then in here it's going to expect the map, right? Which they're just going to be strings, then strings, right? Right. So what we're going to call this is banner, right? So banner equals, give it an empty string for now, right? So the thing is, what we're going to do here is we're going to get these images from Pexels. So Pexels is another website where I get images from, and I'm going to link them in the description, and then you can either download it from the people that have, or the creators of the images, or you can download extra images. So this video is not sponsored by anyone. All right, so I'm just trying to show you how we can fetch and view the data from API. So we're firstly going to have an image, right? So let's do this. So this is the website where I got the images from. It's called Pexels, right? So let's go back here. And I currently have the images in the code I've pushed to GitHub. So you can just go there. If you want to use other images, you can just come to Pexels. They're actually free. You just have to credit the source. So let me put the images in here. Right. So these are, we have the image, the title, which is for this one, it's just simply big sale, 50% off. Then the image, the subtitle, which just simply says don't miss our weekend mega sales. Everything everything in our list is having an image, title, subtitle, right? So we're done with that. Then we can come down here inside our sets. We put a set state that is going to track the current index. All right, so we say set state. Right, so this is why this is a state for widget. So because we are going to be tracking we're going to use the set state to track the we're going to use the set state to track the, sorry, this has to be the index, the states, right? So they will say index context, right? So Then down here, we can come down here. Then here we're going to map the list of banners here, right? Inside the carousel. So we say banner, right? Banner dot map. Right. So the element is just simply going to be banners, but it can be the same name, right? Here we with this, then we simply just return. All right. So here we are going to return clip rect. Say clip rect, right? So inside the clip rect, we're going to have some border radius. Border radius of which is just simply going to be circular. So we can come here, no, not border geometry. So we can come here, border radius. Then the border radius is just simply going to be 5, right? Then the child of this clip rect is simply just going to be, so say child. So the child. So inside this clip rect, we've added an image inside the stack. We've added a stack as the child of the clip rect. So inside that, when this is giving an error, so yeah, so we've put a stack that is having a stack fit dot expand, and this is inside our stack right there. And we give it this error goes. Then here we say fit the image, right? So then we give it a box fit so that we're going to give it a box fit of cover so that it fits the entire container, that widget. You simply say cover, right? So that's what we have so far. Then I actually feel like yeah, well, let's just import this to the home screen. So in the home screen, you can simply just type discount banner widget, right? Discount banner widget. Right, so if you can see there's a typo here on the file, so I'm not going to waste much time on that. So it's called discount. And let's just fetch this, right? All right, so currently it's not showing, so we can come down here. Let's go back there. Here, then we give it a container. So here we're going to say container. Then we're going to give this container some colors, right? A color, I would say, because it's just the same container that is going to be inside this list. Then we say colors. All right, colors with opacity of 0.4. Right, so as you can see, that image is showing there. Let me reload this. All right, so as we can see, we've given it some dark shade on top of the container, right? But on top of the image, we've added a dark container with some opacity of 0.4, right? So the next thing is we're going to have a column down here, right? So here we're going to have a column which is just going to house the text that we need for discount banners, right? So here we're going to give it children. All right, so we're going to give it children in here. So the first child is going to be the text, which is just going to be the title. Then the second child is going to be the banner. All right, so let's do that. All right, so I've added the text, of which I'm just accessing it using the banners. Then we just say title. Then the style is going to be, we're going to have the color of white. Then font size of 2. Then the font width of bold. All right, so we can just copy this, just the entire text widget. Then here we come here, then we give it some sized. Let's first display the text, then we can style it later. So we give it a comma here to get rid of that error. Then we can give it a subtitle, right? So in case you're lost, we're getting this data from here, from this list right here on top, right? All right. So we can come down here. So inside the here we can give it the color of 14, right? Then the font weight we just change it to 400. Then we give it the white of 70. Okay. Then let's just try to reload this and see what we have. Okay, we have an error here. Let's go here on top. Or subtitle was supposed to be a small t. Let's do this. And let's just reload this entire app. All right, so this is what we have so far. And the images are sort of taking a little bit of some time coming from the Pixel's website. So, all right, so the next thing we have to do is we have to give it some, what do you call those, the dots for tracking which carousel slide it's on, right? So here we can give it some spacings, right? So we can come here inside this column and give it the cross axis alignment of start, then the main axis alignment of center. All right, so we've given it the cross axis alignment of start, then the main axis alignment of center. Yeah, so let's reload that. All right, so that's what we have so far. Then we can come here and wrap this some padding, right? So the padding is just going to be 4, which is just going to be give it 16. Right, let's reload, see what we have. All right, so let's fix this messed up view. So let's go here. So the viewport fraction is going to be 0 0.9, sorry, 0 0.9. Then we give it some aspect ratio. I would say aspect ratio. Of which is just going to be 16 over 9. Then let's reload it. Let's see what we have. All right, so we fixed that. Then let's go and give it some space here in the home screen. Then we can just copy this from the greetings. Copy. Then we put it down here in the banner, of the banner I mean. All right, then let's reload and see what we have. All right, so we have everything. We have the banner and the images that are pretty much taking time. So you can actually cache these images right there. And my network is kind of bad right now. So the next thing we have to do is put those dots down there. So let's go to the discount. And outside here, the column, then we can say dots to track the dots to track the current slide that's there, right? So here we're going to simply put some space, a little bit some spacing, sized box. All right, so we give it some sized box with a height of 10 inside the column. Then here we're going to have a row of the same dots, right? Right, sorry about that. So inside the row, we're going to have children. So the first child is going to, this is just going to retain it as a map. So here we can remove this, right? All right, so we're simply just going to say banners or banner because we actually named this as a singular thing, right? So banner dot as map, right? Then we get the entries, right? So from the entries we map. So this is where we get the map. Then get the entry. Then here we do this, right? So inside here we're going to return some containers. So return, you say container. Then this container is going to be like this. Then for us to get rid of this squiggle line, we're going to say to list. So here we've been working with so much list, this project. And we just move this T from inside there. Right? So inside this container, we're going to have the width, which is going to get the current index, right? So say width, we say current index, right? So this is going to be our width. So we get the current index, then we give it this ratio. So here we give it comma, or semicolon, I mean. Then we format it again. Really hate this. So for the height, we're just simply going to take the same entry. So we just copy this, and we do the same thing. So here we simply just replace this with the height, right? Okay, so the next thing is we're going to have some margin after this, right? So the margin is going to be symmetric, and we're going to give it horizontal, which is just simply going to be 4. Then the next thing is we're going to give it a decoration, right? Because this is a container, so we're going to give it a box decoration. So we say box. I don't know what's wrong with my code editor right now. It's so buggy. Right, so we say box decoration again. Here we say box decoration. Right, so inside the box decoration, we're going to give it a shape. And the shape is going to take the box shape, and then we make it a circle. So box shape, then we simply search circle, right? So inside, after the other thing that we have to do is get the color, right? So the current index color is going to be, this is going to be like some sort of a bool, right? Some sort of a condition that is going to be, say, current index dot key, current index equals key dot entry, just like we did with the others. Then if it's the current index that's there, we're going to give it the green accent. And then if it's not the current index that's there, the current slide that's there, we're going to give it white, right? So here is the color. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In here, we're going to say current index, right? Current index, then we say entry. So this is that entry that we have on top there, entry dot key. All right, so here we're going to say colors dot green. We give it a green accent for a color. Right, so we come here. Then if it's not the one, right? So if that index comes out of there, we give it the color, give it the white color, white. Right, so let's reload this and see what we have. All right, so this is what we have. These are the colors that we have there, right there. So the other thing that we have to do is just give this across the main axis alignment of center, so that we center them on top of the screen, in the between the screen, right? So we say main axis alignment. Then we reload this. what we have. All right, so this is what we have so far.
Let me restart the application so that we see the changes that we have made. So this is going to be,
All right, so this is what we have so far. And yeah, so this is basically how the application was in at the beginning of this video. So let's try to fetch to filter through the products that we have. So we're going to search for kiwi. All right, so there we go. This is it. So yeah, that's what we had. That's what I had for you guys today. So
I'll see you in the next video. So yeah, this is it.